Hello and welcome to Across the Pond WNBA. I'm back. Sadly, Michelle's not with us this week. However, this week we are joined by our roving reporter from the Las Vegas All Star Game, Nurielle. Nurielle, welcome to Across the Pond WNBA.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Well, we're excited because like you went to All Star for us. You covered the game, which was amazing. You did an amazing job. If anyone hasn't already, go check out our social media feeds because Nuriel had them rocking. Is probably the best way of looking at it. Um, we did have some technical difficulties along the way, but like you powered through, like massively. So it was awesome. Um, and obviously, Across the Pond Sports Network is now involved with Empowered, and it was Empowered who we're very grateful. I'm very thankful to anyway that they put out a post on their social media feed to say that they were looking, or I was looking for someone to go cover All Star. Um, what was it like when you seen that post and you were like, "Oh, somebody really wants someone to cover All Star? Like that's a big deal."
Yes, I mean, I remember I was getting up for like my regular job morning shift, and I'm like, oh, just the morning. And you wake up and you check Instagram. So I'm scrolling and like just tapping through. And then I see like needed reporter WNBA All Star Game. I was like, what? Let me send in my application. So literally, I like just got up. I'm like trying to find my resume, looking through like my laptop. I'm like doing a few edits, and it's like really early in the morning. I'm like, "Oh, let me send it through," and I'm praying, I'm like, "I hope they pick me, I hope they pick me," and we're here.
That was it, and it was so cool. And it speaks to Empowered and the community that they've kind of grown already. I mean, they're not fully launched yet. They don't have their webinars out yet. They're
Mhm,
coming in September, and they have a lot of other things, career pipeline stuff as well, which is
yeah.
coming. So it's really cool that even at short notice, we were able to get you and get you to Vegas to cover All Star Weekend for us. Absolutely immense. Now,
Mhm.
All Star is a bit mental, and I'm only learning this through you because you went and it was we had a few issues with flights and delays, as it
Mhm.
seems to be par for the course at the moment in the world, not just New York to Vegas, but like just in the world in general. Like when you landed Vegas, was there a lot of like because I've been in Vegas airport in February of this year,
Mhm.
and there was 0 WNBA, there was 0 Las Vegas Aces. Was there much kind of advertising and like, "Oh, we have this All-Star game happening this weekend?"
Yeah, so I was actually super excited when I landed because first I'm like, finally, I made it after 3 delays. And it was my first time in Las Vegas. But like as soon as I landed and I'm walking out of the airport, I see like WNBA All-Star like posters and things around. And I was like, this is so exciting to finally see these wonderful athletes get their flowers.
Yeah, and that's what's important as well, like, it's important that the city kinda get around it as well, because
Hmm.
I was in Glendale for the Super Bowl, and I stayed in Phoenix, and, like, they're just next door to each other. But
Hmm.
if you were in Phoenix, you would not have known that there was a Super Bowl going on. But as soon
Hmm.
as you crossed into Glendale, it was like mental. It was like Super Bowl everywhere, which I found weird because I kind of thought Phoenix would all be about the Super Bowl as well, but never mind. So you're in Vegas, you're heading out to the arena, and like when you kind of got set up and you're got acclimatized, got your credentials, and everything else. I mean, what was that moment like as well when they give you your credentials? Because I remember my first time being handed my credentials, like, oh, I feel really important.
Mhm. I mean, at first, I was a little surprised because I'm used to working, with, like, college basketball and, like, college sports, college football. So with their credentials, it's like paper, but with the WNBA, it wasn't even like I can't even describe the material, but it was sleek, okay? It was not paper, it was not like a rough cardboard, it was kind of like a plastic, but just like a very nice, very elite plastic, and it had my photo on it. I've never had a credential with like my headshot on it. So the credential process, like when I finally got it, I was like, wow, like this is nice. This is elite, you know?
You made it to the big time, huh? Now you go in and obviously I mean, you pretty much got the run of the place, when you're
Mhm,
media. I remember that's what it was like for me when I was at the NFL game in London,
mhm,
and they literally hand you the thing, and it tells you where you can and can't go on the thing, but pretty much you can go anywhere you want. And for you, the one thing that you did, and I always say this about podcasting, sometimes podcasts forget about the fans, like, in terms of having them interact. But you went and done some interviews with some fans, and one of them was, like, a friend of, the father of, Aaliyah Boston.
yeah. Yeah, I was not expecting that. So, I was like, well, let me just, set myself up in an area that's very busy, that has a lot of traction. So when I finally set my camera up, there's, people walking all over. And then I see this man walking towards me, and he looks like he's trying to figure out, because sometimes fans will try to figure out, like, oh, who does she work for? Or what organization is that? A camera, what's going on over there? So I see, he looks a little bit interested, and I'm like, excuse me, sir, would you mind if I interview you? And, he starts talking, and he's telling me about, what he does. He was a lawyer, and, he was explaining, who he's worked with. I'm like, wow, this is like a big shot. Like, this man knows what he's doing. And then he mentions, like, oh, yeah, like, one of my friend's daughters is playing today. And I'm like, well, who's your friend's daughter? And he's like, yeah, it's Aaliyah Boston. And I'm like, the rookie is your friend's daughter? And then I was like, yes, I have to secure this interview. So I'm like, let's put a pin in this conversation. Let me turn the camera on, and let's get this interview on.
And it was so cool. I mean, the other 2 interviews you did one with the family, and what I loved about the one with the family was, like, they were all up for it. They were all like the kids especially, like, they looked like they'd had a couple of cups of coffee that morning. But they probably hadn't. They were just hyper because they were going to All-Star. And then you did the other interview as well with the lady, and, like, she was so up for it. Like, she was just so wanting to see these players and see these players shine. And again, like, have the players be given their flowers for being the best in the league. Because at the end of the
Mhm,
day, that's kind of what All Star is all about. Now, previous All Star games have been quite competitive, and there has been defense. Um, the atmosphere in the arena, we couldn't really tell at home, unfortunately, because I watched it live. But you couldn't really tell at home. But I know sitting at home, I was like, please just play like some level of defense, like even just 10% defense. Uh, what was it like in the arena? Because were people kind of or were people just cheering everything? Because like you are seeing some great plays, 4 pointers, and all this kind of stuff.
mhm. Yeah, I would definitely say that the atmosphere was playful, extremely playful. I mean, I know you guys have seen the clips of like players, making like faces behind one another, and they're just like, "Hi, like you can't get me." So it was definitely playful. I think the players were there to have fun, and the fans were there to have fun too. I mean, the dance contest on the jumbotron was just like outstanding. Everybody was just there to have fun and to really celebrate these women.
One thing the WNBA do have to work on for next year, I'm watching on League Pass, and I don't get the halftime show. I was kinda gutted. I was
Yeah.
looking forward to the halftime show, and I didn't get it. Kinda gutted. Was it as good as everyone said?
Yes, it was as good. I mean, you could see all of the players, like, during halftime, when halftime first, started, you could see all of the players, like, run to the stage because they wanted to see the show. Even the celebs that were in the building, they were, like, in the front, like, "I have to see this." She did an amazing performance, like, it was top tier.
Awesome. Overall then, the event, like when you arrived, because
Mhm,
obviously they had a lot going on around the game, before the game. You could meet players and these kind of things. There was quite a lot going on. Was it good to kind of see that, like, interaction between players, fans, and really the league and the fans? Because I think it is one thing that we talk about quite a lot is the WNBA does seem to be a lot more accessible to fans than other sports leagues.
mhm. For sure. I mean, like, the fan experience, that they set up was like a WNBA Disney World. I mean, it had something for everybody. There was, like, a station where you can get your headshots taken, if you were there on more so, like, I want this to be a productive type of trip, or if you just wanted to have fun, there was this, nail station where, like, you can literally 3D print your nails and get them done, but it was like the WNBA logo or like a player's signature. And I was like, this is so neat. I wish I still had my nails from the WNBA All-Star weekend because I mean it was just absolutely like fun. There was something for everybody. Meet and greets. There was like a huge basketball court and the kids were playing with the players. When do people really get that chance to play basketball with a professional player? So samples, giveaways, amazing.
So what you're saying is you went home with a full suitcase?
Yes, I did. I was at the airport, like, stuffing, like, this has to fit.
I know the feeling. Um, it's awesome, and I think it's that fan experience that, like, the WNBA do very, very well. I have criticised the Las Vegas Aces organization in terms of merchandise.
Mhm.
Like, that's a big airport. It has a lot of Raiders, it has a lot of Golden Knights, but it has 0 aces. Had they fixed that? Like, did they have WNBA merch in the airport as well?
Well, that's actually something that I didn't, see, but I didn't go into many shops in the
And, like,
airport. The airport was kind of, like, in and out for me. But honestly, I don't remember seeing anything from the Aces or from WNBA.
it's alright, I can still bring it up with Mark. Me and him will sit down and get that sorted out. Um, Overall, though, the atmosphere, the game itself, for you as, like, your first, because 'cause you've not done a WNBA event before, have you?
Yes, this was my first.
First. So as your first WNBA event and it being an all-star event, like, how, like, obviously the adrenaline's running through you. I mean, how many days did it take for the adrenaline to kinda die down a little?
Honestly, how long has it been? Like a week, almost 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
It still really hasn't died down. I mean, it was just great, like, just it being in Las Vegas, number 1, and then it just being such a great experience, getting to do what I love and actually talk and interact with players and fans. It still really hasn't died down to say, it's kind of pushed me to work harder, to be more productive because I'm like, I wanna go to more events like this and I wanna do more things like this. So now it's kind of like I'm using it as momentum throughout my days.
That's awesome. That really is awesome because I think, like, these types of events, I've been to a couple now, and I'm the same. Like, you feel that kind of adrenaline. I remember when Simona did the WNBA game in Canada for us.
Mhm.
She went and she was like, "Oh yeah, James, no problem. I'll get you this. I'll get you that. It's absolutely fine." And she was so calm. She got there and she was, like, WhatsApping me, like, off the charts, like, "I'm so excited, this is so amazing." And after it, like, again, like yourself, like, it took her a couple of weeks to come down off the high, and she's a Toronto Raptors fan with her husband, but,
Mhm.
like, they're not, like, avid sports fans, but even she was like, "So, when are we getting a WNBA team in Toronto that I can cover permanently?" I was like, "Wow, we have been converted." Which is awesome. But what's awesome for you is,
Mhm.
you are at college, you're at Syracuse, and I guess for you, having that opportunity to go out there to Vegas to cover it, um, looked pretty good in the resume as well.
Yes, yes. It's already on the resume. I'm already trying to use it, for when I apply to other things. It's on the resume, it's on the LinkedIn, it's it's everywhere now.
There you go. It's never coming off. And that's the thing, I think as well, like, you never forget your first event. I think
Mhm,
that's the thing. Like, my first event was Broncos Jaguars at Wembley, and yeah, I'm probably not gonna forget that anytime soon because that was pretty awesome. In terms of, like, because you got access to all the press conferences and everything else, and we've
mhm.
seen one interaction with you and Brittany Griner, which was absolutely hilarious. She really took that well, and ran with it. Um, but, like, just interacting with players, like, in press conferences and, with the public at large, really, um,
Mhm.
how does that differ to what the kind of work that you do at the college level?
Honestly, it did feel for me a little bit more comfortable interacting with the WNBA players. They were just maybe because it was an all-star game and people are just like more relaxed for all-star game because there's nothing really more so on the line like a real game. Um, so yeah, like I said, the environment was playful. So the interactions were playful, they were fun, they were relaxed. And usually when I'm on the college sports side of things, things are very intense because the players they're trying to make it to the next level. So everything is serious, everything is taken into consideration. So that environment is more so of like a work office, like, this is serious. And for the WNBA was more so playful.
Yeah, I think it definitely comes across. I mean, the WNBA do like to have fun. Obviously, I
Mhm,
cover the Aces podcast, and, like, we see them interacting with each other. You see them interacting with fans, and I think for All Star, when you bring all of these players in, big stars. Let's be honest. I mean, some of these Brianna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu. I mean, Sabrina had just hitting the three-point record in a three-point contest and stuff, so there was a lot of chat around that as well. Like,
mhm.
did you get to bump in or rub shoulders with anybody else famous while you were there?
I mean, well, there were a lot of NBA players that came to support. D Wade was there, which for me was kind of like, oh my goodness, because I'm originally from Miami, and growing up, it was all about the big three. The Miami Heat were really like the first to start that super team type of environment, and just imagine like winning championships. And like you're a child and you just see everybody, talking about the Heat, so that's more so like why I got into sports just because I got to experience what championships are like and just everyone talking about this sport and how amazing these athletes are. So to actually like see him, I mean, I seen him in real life, of course, at the championship parades when I was like super young, but like to actually like see him, I was like, wow, like, this is a full circle moment.
It is pretty amazing. He also owns a stake. He bought a stake in the Chicago Sky. That's
Mhm,
why he was there. And when you were at Kathy Engelbert's press conference, obviously she spoke about D Wade buying into the Sky. He does own a stake in the Utah Jazz as well, which is my team, which
mhm,
doesn't have any championships. But, like, we are seeing through the new CBA that the NBA players have that they are now allowed to buy into WNBA teams and invest, and it's
mhm,
great, and like you said, I mean, we've seen a couple on TV, like NBA players, but I bet there was more there than what we can see on TV floating around and lending their support to the W as well, which is really good, and it's good that they're kind of putting their hands in their pockets and investing in teams as well.
mhm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, Anthony Davis, KD, Bam Adebayo, it was a lot of them in there, and it was just exciting to see also, a few NFL players and a few, different, artists were there, so it was definitely, the thing for celebs to do.
N y and having in Vegas is a perfect place for that, to
Mhm,
kind of that atmosphere to thrive. I love it, absolutely love it, and I think going forward, like next year, the All Star game is in Phoenix.
Mhm.
Now, I'm hoping that competitively we get. I think we will see some defense because next year's an Olympic year, and when we had an Olympic year last, that game was so competitive because you had Team USA against Team WNBA, and Team WNBA handed that USA team their only loss. Um,
Mhm.
so I'm kind of looking forward to next year already because I'm kind of anticipating that they do that format again. I mean, it's fun to do Team Wilson, Team Brianna, but we've had that the last 2 years. So I hope they go
Mhm.
back to Team USA versus Team WNBA. That'll be fun. Might be a bit more competitive, hopefully, bit of defense. But like, how did the fans kind of react? Like after the game's done, like I take it everyone just went home with smiles on their faces because they've been entertained
Mhm.
massively by the best players in the world for the last 40 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't, in the arena more so for most of that time because, after the game, you're, like, trying to not get lost in the tunnels and make it to the press conference. But, from the few minutes that I was there, everyone looked just excited, and honestly, they looked like they didn't wanna go home. I mean, I think it took a while for the arena to clear out, and even walking out, I think I left about 2 hours after the press conferences or something like that after the game. And there were still people like, around in the space just having a good time, drinking, having fun, laughing with friends, making conversations.
That's awesome. It's really cool to hear that because I think that's what they were going for. Like
Mhm,
that's the kind of thing they were going for. Now you did get your, and I think this must be a tradition thing in the states where, you know, it's your first game, so you go stand on center court and get your picture taken.
mhm.
I take it that picture will be forever memorialized somewhere,
In a frame.
which is cool. But like that's the cool bit about sports. And sports for me has always been about an escape from the real world, which is why I don't watch real news. I watch sports news all the time because it's more fun and enjoyable.
Mhm,
But for you covering it, you've covered college as we've talked about, and now going back to college, which you're going to do in what October time. You have to go back to that paper credential, but like, does what you did in Las Vegas, I mean, you said it's already motivated you, but, like, what did you learn from being in Vegas that you can take into, like, next season at Syracuse?
Yeah, I mean, definitely being a new reporter or emerging reporter, I think that you have to also realize what are certain things that you have to work on. So I just know for me, like, I'm taking notes about the game, but I'm also taking notes about myself and just being like, okay, well, when you did the interviews, maybe you can work on, these type of points or just honestly feeling more comfortable in a press conference. As a new reporter, sometimes it could be very intimidating to be in a room with wonderful, amazing athletes and wonderful reporters and, these big name outlets. So I think for me, my biggest takeaway would just be identifying the key things that I need to work on as a reporter.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you got that opportunity. One thing I will ask though, because Simona said this when she was in Toronto. She said that the press conference room was jam packed. Like there was 50, 60 reporters in there, and obviously the cameras up the back and all this kind of stuff. Was it as jam packed for the All Star game as well?
Yes, I will say that it was packed. Almost every seat was filled. And if you got there late, then you were standing on the side. So, yes, very full.
I noticed you were sitting front row each time. So
Well, not each time.
you're
So,
close.
for the pregame conference, I was in the first row. For the postgame, the tunnels messed me up a little bit, so I was, like, running down. So I ended up on, like, the side, and then but I was, like, in the front on the side. I kind of, like, squirmed my way through. And then I did end up, like, towards the back later on, but yeah.
That's awesome, and it's a great experience. Now, obviously, like we say, you go back to Syracuse in October time, go back to school.
Mhm.
In terms of, because how many years have you got left at school? What, 2
2
years
years,
left?
because 'cause I'm
2
a
years left.
rising junior. Mhm.
Okay. So in 2 years' time, like, where do you wanna be heading out to your first job?
Yes, I mean, I have an open mind, so hopefully, I just want to be in the sports industry, either working in the basketball world or the football world, American football, that is. But yeah, I would definitely love to work in the sports world, with an on-camera position. So as long as it's covering those two sports with the on-camera position, I'll be happy because I just love telling the stories of athletes.
No, that's awesome, and it's good. It's, like, important to have that kinda goal and that dream, so that drives you forward, and you can, like, the work that you did for us over that weekend was immense, was crazy, and I remember talking to Megan from Empowered afterward, and the words I used were, If this is the caliber of person that you guys can attract to your organization and to your community," which is what they're building. They're trying to build a community.
Mhm.
Like, if this is the standard, then the bar is very high.
Yeah.
So because I was immensely impressed with your work and the work that you did for us and what we were able to put out. So thank you so much for doing that for us. Hopefully, we can have you back at some point as well, in the future. And thanks again. And we will be back next week. Hopefully, Michelle will be back as well. But don't forget that this Sunday is Across the Pond Sports Network's third birthday. Um, God knows where the time has went. But we do have a double episode coming up with Empowered, who we were talking about with Samantha and Megan. So please do tune in for that from Sunday, and we will catch you all very soon next week. So have a good one.
Yes. Bye.